My plan is to make a new bookcase for this space. One of the problems I have with this particular one is the books overhang significantly over the edges of the bookcase. We're wanting something a little bit bigger. Not much taller, but a little deeper, just a little bit wider. That is my goal for today, and we'll see how well that works out. This is going to be my plan. This is where I work best, is just a simple drawing like this. It gives me the measurements I need. I'm going to start off with milling down this piece of Spanish mahogany for use as the sides, and then I will continue on with another piece out of this stack right here. This is all Spanish mahogany, plenty of it. I have the rough milling done for most of this bookcase. Here are the sides. Those are the shelves over there on top of the table saw, and here's the top. But on these sides, I made a mistake when I was cutting them on the table saw, and I cut this little notch here. As they say, oopsie. So what I have done is I milled down this piece of similar wood. It's the same breed, and I cut it, and I'm going to glue it into place, and then I will sand it down, and it'll look good. This is the top, and I'm going to do a live edge over here. This is too narrow. The narrowest point here is roughly 12 inches, and I need it to be 15 inches. I have this other board here that's left over from another part of this project, and I'm gonna join them together. The tabletop is being glued up, and tomorrow I'll pull it off the clamps and see how lousy of a job I did. Alright, my very first bow tie in a project. It is not perfect by far. I must have messed up on the bow tie itself. There's a little bit of gap here and a little bit of gap here, but first of all, this is the bottom of the project, so I'm practicing at the bottom. Secondly, it's my very first one. Give me a break. Joel, if you're looking, this is for you, buddy. Alright, that's 3 on the bottom side of this shelf or bookcase lid. This one turned out to be a little too thin. I don't know how that happened, but it did. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. This is the bottom. Nobody's ever going to see it. But I did make a mistake, and I need to be more cognizant of this on the other side, because it'll be more important. The grain is running this way on the actual bow ties. They're not really that strong this way. It will be strong enough when you add it to the other side as well, but considering these are the first 3 bow ties I've ever done, hey, this is pretty fantastic. I have done 3 bow ties on either side of this board, and I think that this is going to be just fine. This should stabilize that crack. Hopefully it will not grow anymore. I don't think it will. There's some gaps in this one and this one, so I just packed in some sawdust and glue. I will sand these down tomorrow. Next step on this top is that I'm going to keep this live edge, and I think it's going to look really nice when it's done. But the live edge came out really sharp out here, so I had cut it off because it's going to be banged into by whoever. And now I have this flat edge, and I think I've decided I'm going to do another thing that I've never done before, and that is I'm going to carve my own live edge. So here's a snap cutoff that I had, and I carved a little live edge right here. It's hard to tell really, but I did carve my own live edge, and it looks kind of good, I think. So I'm going to do that same thing here. And then I said, you know, what the heck, let's go large. And I'm going to try it out what the end grain would look like as a large live edge as well. And that looks good. So we're going to do that. We're going to have a one-of-a-kind live edge end grain. So I'm going to use my angle grinder. And now I do have this chainsaw head for my angle grinder, and the idea is that you mount this and it works like a chainsaw, and it really takes out the wood very quickly. However, this whole thing just seems dangerous as hell to me. Stumpy Nubs had a video on it where he had hurt himself pretty bad with one of these, and I think it's a little too aggressive for the speeds that the angle grinder does. So I'm going to go ahead and skip out on this. I also, at Harbor Freight, purchased this planer head for my angle grinder. Once I'm done doing a rough cut grind, then I have these flap discs. This is 40 grit, and I'm going to go ahead and sand it with the flap disc and get off all the facets. And then I might hit it with an 80 grit flap disc I also have. And then from there on out, I'll just use regular sandpaper. There's been a lot of work on this top, and hopefully I'm not about to mess things up. Alright, so I have faked out a live edge right here, and I think it matches the rest of the live edge rather well. I really like this effect. I wish I had my wife around to tell me what she thinks.
Wow, that is cool.
Well, wishes do come true. Well, I'm thinking that is looking really nice. Of course, I still need to sand the bow ties, but this is the first live edge end grain that you'll ever see, and maybe it'll even last. I think it looks good. It continues on the look of the live edge very nicely. Camera probably is not doing it justice. It really looks good here. I am going to dado in the sides, but I'm going to do stop dado about an inch in on both sides. So I made myself a jig. This is a one-time use jig just for this case. So the plan is that one side is longer than the other, and then I'm just going to put that on like that. I'm going to use this trim bit here to do the dados. So it'll be one pass that way and one pass that way. I cut a groove on the backs of the two lengths for the backing, and then I also rounded over using my router table. We're almost ready for assembly. What I need to do is I need to notch out a little notch so that The drawers will stand about here. I have my bandsaw set up to notch out where the shelves need to be notched. I've done a test. Looks like it's going to fit. So what I have here is a magnetic stop block, and then my fence in the right depth, and then I have a T-spur, and I'm going to run it backwards so that because you know it'll be too off the table. The dry fit is looking good. The next step is going to be sanding all the outside surface. Y'all can vote if you want to watch the sanding, or if you don't, I'll listen now. I'm pretty sure I heard a scream of no, I do not want to watch sanding, so we'll just go ahead and pull this apart and prepare for sanding tomorrow. I've completed all the sanding all the way up to 220 grit. I did not sand the natural live edge. I left that as is, but I did sand a homemade live edge. The glue up has completed, and now I'm going to put on the back, and I'm going to use this aromatic cedar that I received from my brother. That is tongue and groove, so there's going to be a little bit of a gap when it's all put together between each board, but I think that'll look nice. I think it'll go well with the live edge on the top. It won't be perfect, but it'll be perfect enough. Now, last night I had a dream, and I was saying this top shelf that's underneath the lid is awful far from here, and I said, well, these boards are going to be loose, and I was thinking I needed to put a cross brace all the way across here to nail to and glue to, and I've come to realize I don't think I do need to do that. When I had these, now these are over this way beyond the bottom, they're pretty stable and nothing's going to be pressing up against it. They're just going to be standing there and tongue and groove together, so I think it'll be just fine. The back is on and it's looking good. I have just the top set here for right now. It's not attached. Just to see what it's going to look like when it's done. And I'm thinking the whole thing's looking good, except for one small problem. When I milled the wood, my verticals weren't long enough. The pieces I had weren't long enough to support to be the length that I wanted. I want this to be 49 inches tall, and it's only 41 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a base to set it on, raise it up. I'm not going to go all 9 inches of a base, but I'll probably add 4 or 5 inches to the height, and that'll suffice. Let's see what the boss thinks.
That's horrible. I don't want that thing in my house.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding. That is beautiful.
I went ahead and created a base. It's going to raise up the whole bookcase 4.5 inches. Alright, I have done a live edge all the way across on the base here. I think it looks pretty good, even in the front corners. I think that looks really good. And I'm ready to start finishing. I have decided to use Danish oil for this project. I originally was going to use tung oil, but I wanted to have a protective finish as well, so decided to use Danish oil. And now is the time of the exciting part of any project, and that is adding a finish to the project after you can open up the bottle. First, you get rid of this here. If you have children, I don't recommend you remove the safety caps. I don't. So I don't have children in near my shop, so it's not a problem here. And I almost always pour my finish into a secondary cup. That way I don't contaminate the major jar. Now here it comes. This is where the magic happens. Wow, look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. So the Danish oil instructions are flood the surface and then wait 15 minutes and then flood the surface again. Look at that. Wow. Beautiful. Amazing. This always happens to me whenever I am working on a project. I'm kind of, oh wow, it's kind of bland, it's not that special, and then I put finish on it, and all of a sudden any kind of lack of love I have for it goes away, because the finish really makes it beautiful. Look at that. Oh wow. I'm not a humongous fan of doing finish work, but I am a fan of seeing what it's going to look like when finished. So that's just the top. Now it's time to wait 15 minutes and do it again. Oh, look at that. They say that anything that soaks in right away, you need to. The problem with using these cheap ass brushes, little threads come off. Alright, now for here. I'm going to leave this side unfinished, and then I'll just go from here. Isn't that amazing, the difference in color? Just adding a little bit of moisture to it. Look at that. That is phenomenal. Before and after. I'm loving this live edge front. And in about 2 years, this cabinet will be red. I think it looks fantastic. Good. Finally, after every woodworking project, you should always count your fingers. You end with 10. Good job.
You do okay work. I guess we'll keep you on staff for now.